Once fully bordered, they will start plastering upstairs, then work their way back downstairs out the front door, which means the kitchen will generally be the last thing to be plastered and will be the last to dry, which is not good if you want the kitchen fitting first. You could ask the plasterers to plaster the kitchen first, which would allow the kitchen to dry out while the rest of the house is drying. So mist coat. So to put it simply, a mist coat is a watered down coat of paint which is applied to fresh, dried, new plaster before you apply a full non-watered down coat of paint, as a new plaster is a permeable surface which will soak up any moisture from the paint quickly. So watering down your first coat as a mist coat will help the plaster to soak up the paint and create a bond between the new plaster and the new paint. For new plaster, it is critical you start with a mist coat. So what if I don't do a mist coat? So really, it is not an option not to do a mist coat, as the consequences can be quite disastrous without one. You are likely to have poor adhesion between the plaster and the paint, and quite often it will crack, flake, or even peel off, maybe even in sheets in some instances. This will also help in the tiled areas, as the walls need to be sealed before the tiling adhesive is applied, as the plaster will suck the moisture out of the adhesive too quickly, and this will affect the bond between the adhesive and the plaster, and generally your tiles will probably fall off or at least become loose. So make sure the painter does a mist coat by adding water to the paint. When you are pricing for the works, you must talk to the painter about a mist coat. So your mist coat. So once the plastering is dry, thoroughly dry, it's time to get some paint on the walls and ceilings. So if your plaster's still damp, you can't paint them, otherwise the paint could peel off. So this needs to be done before the second fixing starts. We're not talking about painting them to a proper finish. It's the base coat as mentioned. It's a watered down coat of paint. So when all the second fixing is complete, the decoration will be done quicker, so you can paint properly to the areas that will be covered by radiators and sockets and switches. Those can all be painted to a relatively good finish, and then it's just a case of touching any marks up from when your plumber and your electrician come along. They're going to mark things, so it's just about touching those areas up, any marks in those areas, which is a lot easier to paint the walls and ceilings without sockets and switches on, woodwork, kitchen units and bathroom and sanitary. The mist coat allows you to see the true condition of the walls, as bare plaster always looks good, but once painted you realise all the imperfections then that need sorting. This can take a while, and if you are time critical, as you have things like carpets booked in to be fitted and have a lot of plaster to sort out, you can end up painting after carpets are down, which is never a good idea. So if you can get the mist coat done at this stage, but you need to make sure the walls are dry or the paint will not last long on the walls. Sometimes you may not be able to do a mist coat at this stage.